Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Sports Trivia with the Snowman. Today's topic all about the World Cup. So as always, feel free to play along, have some fun with it. Hopefully you learned something. And let's begin World Cup Jeopardy. Let's take a look at our categories now, and they are as follows: host nations, World Cup finals, photo ID. You'll be given a picture of a jersey there and you'll have to identify the country to which it belongs to. Women's World Cup, 0, 1, or 2. And the final category today, Golden Boots. All the answers in that category, Golden Boot winners from World Cups in the past. All right, so we'll start in our first category, host nations, and we begin with the $200 clue. In 2018, they made their home fans proud by unexpectedly charging to the quarterfinals. The answer there, Russia. Of course, they just hosted the World Cup last summer. Host nations now for 400. The only time a host nation failed to qualify for the knockout stage was in 2010 by this team. That's the only African nation to ever host the World Cup, South Africa. Now to the $600 clue. The only World Cup in which multiple nations played host, Japan and South Korea jointly hosted proceedings in this edition of the World Cup. And that wasn't too long ago. That was back in 2002. $800 now. The highest average attendance per game was recorded at the 1994 World Cup, hosted by this nation. That is the country that will also be doing the hosting in 2026, the United States of America. Finally, host nations for 1,000. Despite playing in 3 World Cup finals and dominating the 1970s, this European nation has never hosted the World Cup. And our answer there are going to be the Netherlands. They have never hosted the world's biggest tournament. All right, moving to our next category now. It's going to be World Cup finals. As of 2019, this nation has the most World Cup finals won with 5. The answer there, Brazil. Now to 400. The most common final matchup, Germany and Argentina have met in the final on 3 separate occasions, most recently in this year. Hopefully that one is fresh in your mind. Just a few years ago, that was 2014. Now to the $600 clue. Brazil scored this many goals in the highest scoring final back in 1958. If you didn't know this one, hopefully you just guessed a single-digit number. The answer there, 5. 5-2 was the score of that final. Now to $800, World Cup finals. The only country to win in multiple World Cup finals without ever having lost one. South American side Uruguay, who triumphed in both 1930 and 1950. Now to the final World Cup finals clue. Dubbed the Miracle of Bern, this year's final produced an epic upset result as Germany came back to defeat Hungary 3-2. The answer there, 1954. That was the first of Germany's 4 World Cup titles. Now to our third category, photo ID, and let's look at the first picture here. Those checkerboard kits belong to Croatia. Now to photo ID for 400. Two-time World Cup champs right there, Argentina. 600 now. One of the most popular jerseys at this most recent World Cup, those belong to Nigeria. Now to the $800 clue for photo ID. That was from their one World Cup appearance in 2006, Ukraine. Now for 1,000. And that is the African side, Angola. Now let's test your knowledge of the other gender. Go to Women's World Cup here and $200 clue. This country has finished 3rd or better in all 7 Women's World Cups. The answer there, the defending World Cup champions, the United States of America, now to $400. They dominated en route to winning back-to-back World Cup titles in 2003 and 2007. And that is the only country with both a men's and a women's World Cup title, Germany. Now to Women's World Cup for $600. The only scoreless final featured the U.S. and this women's football superpower back in 1999. America's opponent that day, China, and you may remember that game. That was the Brandi Chastain penalty kick game. At $800, nobody has more World Cup goals than this Brazilian legend's 15 and counting. She is the 5-time FIFA World Player of the Year, Marta. All right, now Women's World Cup for $1,000. This American legend and ex-Tar Heel has played in a record 30 World Cup matches. That's 5 more than the great Abby Wambach. And no, it's not Mia Hamm. The answer there, Christine Lilly. All right, moving to our next category now. 0, 1, or 2. One of those 3 numbers has to be the answer to these questions, so let's go for 200. The number of times England has won the World Cup. Answer there, 1. At one time was back in 1966 where they beat West Germany. Out of 400, 0, 1, or 2. Brazil has failed to qualify for the World Cup this many times. That is the big goose egg 0. Brazil, the only nation to make all 21 World Cup appearances. That's $600 now. This many countries have gone back-to-back and repeated as World Cup champions. It's only happened twice. Italy in 1938 and Brazil backing up their title in 1962. So your answer there is 2. Now the $800 clue. The number of times a World Cup final has been decided by penalty kicks. That would be 2. Just in 1994 and 2006 was the final decided in PKs. Now for the $1,000 clue. The amount of instances a non-European or non-South American side has made the World Cup final. So we're talking non-European, non-South American teams, and the answer there, 0. The USA and South Korea have both made the semifinals before, but that is the furthest for a non-European, non-South American side. Now to our final category, Golden Boots. We're looking at the highest scorers at World Cups past, and a $200 clue. This Brazilian legend never won a Golden Boot. The closest he came was a Silver Boot in 1958. That was 17-year-old Pelé scoring 6 goals at that particular World Cup. Now we'll move to 400. The all-time leading goal scorer in World Cup history, this German won the Golden Boot in 2006. That's my favorite player of all time, Miroslav Klose, 16 goals in total at the World Cup, and he had 5 in particular at 06 to claim that Golden Boot. Now we'll go to 600. One of the few times the Golden Boot winner has come from the winning country. He claimed it in 2002. And that's the OG Brazilian Ronaldo, who had 8 goals in 02. Now to 800. Despite his team bowing out in the quarterfinals, this South American dazzled his way to a Golden Boot in 2014. He had one of the most sweetly struck volleys you'll ever see that tournament. It was voted the goal of the tournament. James Rodriguez, Golden Boot winner in 14. Now to our final $1,000 clue. Frenchman Just Fontaine still holds the record for most goals at a single World Cup with this insane total back in 1958. And somehow Fontaine scored 13 goals in just 6 games at that tournament. Well done. All right, hopefully you've been keeping track of your score. If not, hopefully you're having fun. But let's go to our final Jeopardy now, and the category is tiebreakers. So make your wagers if you've been keeping track, and we'll get to this final category in just a second. Here we go, our final Jeopardy question now, and it is This Asian nation was the beneficiary of an odd rule at Russia 2018, where they qualified for the knockout stage over Senegal due to having received fewer yellow cards in group play. So I'll give you a few more seconds to think about that one. It was, I believe, the first time that FIFA ever had to use their fair play tiebreaker rule at the World Cup finals. And it was certainly a weird situation. And our final answer today, Japan. They only had 3 yellow cards in group play. Senegal had 5. So please, if you kept track of your score, comment below with your total. I'd love to know how you did. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media. Give me a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And I'll be back very soon. Cheers.